going to talk about how can you up your skills so other crazy busy experienced agents might hire you as a showing agent. There are several new agents every year that they make some nice extra money helping busy agents. Megan started a long time ago showing for one of our agents, and she's his go-to.
He still calls him, come for him, when he goes to Japan to lunch.
Yeah. So that's what you want, is then you can make some extra side money showing properties for other agents. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how do you do that? How do you do that well? What's that look like? And then just best practices on just showing a house, whether it's your client or somebody else. Does that sound good to you guys today? Okay. So this is why this having, I call it a program, because you're the target audience for experienced agents, for open houses, for helping them with showings, and maybe doing runner activities. Maybe they need a yard sign put in a yard and they've got appointments up north, but their new listing is in Leeson. And they are like, and they've got to get that yard sign in the yard today. And they don't know how they're going to do that. Then they could hire you to do that. So it goes further than just, but you become that person. So they're overwhelmed, and you'll get to that point that you're going to be like, somebody to help me. Amy's ready now. She is ready now. And then it gets you opportunities for experience and to make a little money. And there's something less nerve-wracking, I think, maybe you guys are different, about showing somebody else's clients' properties. It doesn't feel as stressful and as nerve-wracking, especially when you're new. Because really, as a showing agent, what I want you to get from this class is being a showing agent is very different than being or doing that activity for someone else is very different than being a buyer's agent. Do not confuse the two. I see that happen, and yeah, so we want to be careful not to step on the toes, because, you know, when you're a solo agent, or even some of the teams at times need help. So don't ever think that a team won't ever have a need, because maybe all the team members, depending on the size of the team, they have an immediate need.
Well, so I know they'll probably get you comfortable talking to people, but so what you're just saying, you gotta make sure you don't cross the line.
Between a showing agent and buyer's agent. So if you are showing houses to someone else's buyers, we're gonna talk about in this class how you don't cross that line. Because I see agents do that all the time, and we'll get into what can happen, and it's not good. It's not good. So I want to prepare you on kind of what can happen so that you will know. On the showing, and what we'll talk about is there's different ways that an agent might use you. Most of the time it's ad hoc. It's just, I've got a crazy schedule and I need one house or two houses shown to these buyers. However, there may be an agent who says to you, because we have a couple who do this, and say, Brooke, I want you to be my showing agent with these buyers. And it's not you joining their team, it's you giving a service. And you're going to show them houses until they find the one, and then you hand them back to the buyer's agent, and then they write the contract, they counsel them, they negotiate, all of that, and take it to the finish line. Now, there's some teams that actually have showing agents on their team as a full-time position to support them. So if a buyer's agent is or an agent in general is very busy, they may have on their team a showing agent. Many times, Taylor Made doesn't have a showing agent right now, the husband and wife team. But for many years, they've had a showing agent. If you all know Portia in this office, that's how she she started in launch. And then they saw what a bright shining star she was. And then she joined their team and became a showing agent for several years. So she assisted Leah Taylor in taking people out and showing houses because that takes a lot of time. Okay, so that's what's really cool about it is you could be asked to do even more, and we're going to talk about that too. Okay. Okay, the purpose is so that you all have an idea of how to do this, so that you're trained, so you bring value. And it'll also sharpen your own skills about being really good at customer service and how to show a house. Because you're thinking, oh, I can show a house. That's so easy. Yes and no. Just setting up appointments is a feat in itself and can take time. So like I said, you may help the clients, the buyers, up until it's time to write a contract. Then they go back to the buyer's agent, the lead agent, show ad hoc. You might, okay, so think of this. I know that if I was in real estate today and my husband, who's also a licensed agent, wasn't available and I had to show a house to someone I did not know, I'd want somebody to go with me. So there may be a time an agent says, I would like you to accompany me on a showing, and they may be willing to pay you for it. Now, as peers, do that for each other. Because you are going to have them sign a buyer's agency, but again, if you do not know these people, and we're going to talk about safety in this class, you have to be oh so careful. There have been tragic things have happened in the past. Doesn't happen the statistic is very low, but I want you to have the awareness that there have been male and female agents harmed or killed showing properties to people they did not know. Absolutely not. That's a misnomer.
I met a guy the other day,
Hate
he's
'em.
actually a mobile combat training guy, so he goes to offices and he like trains people and he like trains a lot of like real estate.
Like self-defense.
Yeah, and self-defense and stuff, and he just got back from like traveling the world and stuff and teaching classes and that. and
That's
everything.
awesome.
So that's something the office like.
Give me, I'm the staff liaison for the education committee. Send me his contact information. Cause and I say,
It's not just a launch thing, that's everything.
it's all,
It could be a red class.
yeah, definitely. That's what I'm thinking as a red class is that, you have to think safety as an agent. You
Yeah.
do. We're encountering strangers. So you have to be smart. So they might ask you, hey, I'll pay you to come with me on the showing because I don't know these people.
If I were to ask like my husband to come along
Mhm.
for one of those, do I just need to have him sign like a buyer's agency? No.
No,
Okay.
no.
Since he's
no.
not interested.
Yeah, like if you have a spouse who comes to your open houses and stuff like that, or to a showing with you or what have you, no, they do not just need to sign any paperwork. I mean, he's not gonna say anything. He's not gonna act like an agent. So that is fine. Matter of fact, either do your open houses with another agent or a lender or have somebody with you, male or female. I know that Douglas has many times offered to go on a showing or an open house with an agent, with a new agent that, no wonder he's our big heart. Because he knows that we shouldn't be doing this by ourselves. And then I talked to you about runner activities. So we're going to talk about today professional image, safety, scheduling skills, working with a lead agent, with a buyer's agent. So let's get into it. Okay, you might think this is silly, but it's not. How you show up for a showing, especially if it's not your client, if it's your client, matters. It really does. You coming across as a professional, now that doesn't mean you can't wear jeans. But you shouldn't look like you just rolled out of bed. And I've seen agents look like they just rolled out of bed. I'm not kidding. And you're like, who's the agent? I don't know. Blake Nelson, one of, like, our number one agent in this office, Blake wears jeans, but he does send them to the dry cleaners and they are like creased and prepped.
It's on the front of GQ.
Yeah, every time, unless he's in his workout clothes in the morning. Sometimes he comes in after workout and does his lead gen.
Yeah.
But he's always looking good. So here are the things I'll tell you. And when I say professional attire, like I said, it can be jeans, but look nice. Look scrubby, don't look like you just came. Now, there may be a time I've had somebody come, in workout clothes because they just came from something and had a short notice showing. But that's usually because it's with a client they know and they've been working with and say, hey, I'm so sorry for us to go see this house. I'm not gonna have time. And that's where I'm gonna tell you this. Every day I got up and came to work as an agent. Now, part of that was out of ignorance. Because I came from the corporate world and I was used to getting up and going to work every day. So I didn't quite get it as a self-employed person that I could have been in like my jammies hanging out. I'm so glad I didn't. Because once you start really doing lead gen and really having leads, sometimes you are going to get little to no notice. And for us women, sometimes it takes us a wee bit longer than just in the shower and nothing to brush. Right. Like my husband, he does take a really, really long shower. But then after that, he's done. And I'm like, yeah. So I was ready to go every day. I could have on short notice been ready for a showing. So if you're out there doing lead gen activities and you've got active buyers or even someone who's thinking about selling, you've got to know that you may have to go do something immediately that day. So being ready is important.
Well, as a showing agent, often you'll get the phone call, my kid's sick, I need to run to the school, I have to show up, you can help me. And if you're available, sure, but if you're not ready to go out, then it's a disadvantage.
It is. I'm just going to tell you, a lot of what we do is last minute. And it's just like, you'll get that call and you'll be like, you want me when? You want to go see it when? Dang, we'll see if we can. But yeah. So just, I can't stress that enough that you've got to know that you might need to be ready like immediately to be able to get everything done. Also know that if you're showing houses for another agent, you're representing not only yourself, but that agent's reputation in the office. So that's really important. That's probably the most stressful thing here is when you are showing agent for other agents is that that reflects on that agent that they asked you to do this, right? And I'll talk about, so stay away from shorts, cutoffs, jeans are okay, but just not raggedy, dirty jeans, right? I'm okay with jeans, tank tops, flip-flops, gum, you guys get it, right? I don't have to.
So I don't do any of that, but I shoot gun, so I gotta not shoot them. I mean, I don't shoot like a dang billy goat, but I do shoot. So.
Suggestion, and you know why I kept it in?
Yeah.
You know why I kept it in is because my mother's voice in the back of my head, we don't chew gum in public.
Right, yeah.
Well, and some people do chew annoyingly.
Yeah, so it's not that.
Annoys me too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like a goat. I love that description. That's spot on.
Yeah.
But just think of those things that would maybe not reflect well as a professional if you did them.
I'm thinking gum versus bad breath, though.
Well, and
Take the gum.
yeah, and that's fine. Just don't be all smacking on it. My mother, if she heard us smacking, it was like worse than doing something bad around the house. She
I
was-
say I had this lady in my car one time and she popped that, it was, you know, how you pop your gum when you chew it.
Yeah, and then just.
For like 40 minutes, I almost drew off the highway. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not saying no gum. Douglas,
It's like when it says no shorts, but don't you have like a professional type?
there's
shorts?
dress shorts.
Okay.
Yeah, just, okay, what we would wear around at home in our grubby state.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. But yes, there are very nice dress shorts and women have two-piece short outfits that are so cute. Anna Morel wears one and she's just
Yeah,
cute and
which
tiny.
I think we would be talking like, God, I don't think it should show.
Well, actually, there's some long shorts. I've seen some guys look really nice.
It's like golfing type shorts or
Yeah.
something versus
Yeah.
like half,
Yeah.
you know.
Like, Like, yeah, oh, okay.
I mean, if it's.
No,
like
no,
August,
keep showing.
Okay,
So use your best judgment. You guys know. You're gonna be fine. Also know that you probably need another pair of shoes in your car. Because you, if it's bad weather out or what have you, if it's got acreage, if it's new construction. I learned not to wear any heels of any kind or very low. Because new construction, sometimes you're going into a house that's barely up, it's in the framing stage. And, that can be a little dicey.
On tour on Tuesday, that like Tatum and I both had flash fire, and we were just like, whoa.
Yes, and then sometimes it's muddy and you're gonna go into somebody's backyard and sink and you're gonna like, oh gosh. I mean, I've had my heels sink into the grass and,
After that experience, I just bought a cheap pair of rubber boots from Walmart.
For Tuesday.
Well, no, prior, for your shoes sitting in the backyard. And just leave it in your car.
Yeah.
You just walk out and like something.
Yeah.
We used to wear it anymore.
just something that you can throw on and when it's bad weather.
Yeah, but in Walmart, they got kind of where you can slip over.
Yeah.
Nice thick rubber. you
Yeah,
can
Slip over the covers.
Yeah.
You can definitely do that. So just know, you actually should probably have a little tub in your car of things that you're gonna need. And that's, you're gonna need a hammer, you probably need a rubber mallet, probably gonna need a screwdriver, you're gonna need a flashlight, you're gonna need toilet paper, you're gonna need paper towels. I mean, because there's nothing worse than being way out at a vacant property and there's no toilet paper, there's no nothing. The water's still on. Please know that some houses get winterized. Usually they're foreclosure houses where none of the plumbing is usable. And they usually tape down toilet seats, but people have been known to still use them, even if there's signs on there. Not good. Just hope that's never your listing. Cause that's not a fun thing, cause guess who gets to clean it? It's usually you. So you need prep. Clean your car. So let's talk about your car. It'll depend, and it is a choice for you. Whether you're gonna put buyers in your car, or you're gonna have them meet you. If it's just one house, I'm gonna have them meet me. We're gonna see 5 houses. For me personally, I always put them in my car. A couple of reasons. One, it gave me bonding time with them, get to know them better. 2, we could debrief after each house because do you guys know you shouldn't be talking about the house to the buyer when you're in the house? Why is that?
They're listening.
Cameras, secure the Ring doorbell bare minimum, but there's probably a camera inside. We used to like discuss the whole house in the house. You don't do that anymore. And also it was where I could remind them of the process and what we would do if we went under contract on this house and that type of thing. So for me, I loved it. It was great bonding time. Now, I've had an agent say, you know what? That would distract me so much. I would probably get in an accident. I'm like, then that's probably not good having the buyers in your car. But here's where, when I would have them follow me, if I missed a turn or the directions were wrong, and then we have to like caravan around and make it, and then they're like, oh, they probably think I don't know my way around. So it's a personal choice for you, especially with your own clients. But most likely, if you're going to be in a showing agent role, it's probably just one or two houses and you'll probably meet them there. Because they're not your client. Does that make sense? I actually, when would have numerous showings with clients, I have a small little cooler. And in that cooler was bottled water and snacks. For me, because of my blood sugar, and for them. Just a nice little touch. So that we didn't have to stop at the Quick Trip and do.
I had a question, like you said about the talking in the house. One time I instructed a client that like, you may can say what you want to say, but I can't do it. Is that?
Well, you can't keep someone from talking, but you can say to them, I just want you to be made aware that most likely the seller can hear all or parts of our conversation because most homeowners have some kinds of cameras in their home and definitely at their front door.
I told him that before we were.
Yeah, prepare them. You need to, because you can say stuff that I had a client, this was before cameras and Ring doorbells were anything in people's homes. She was an odd seller. And we had a showing, I gave her the feedback, I'm talking to her on the phone, and she goes, oh yeah, I could tell they didn't like the house, and I was like, were you at the showing? She goes, oh, no, I was about to tell you, we had cameras. And I'm like, holy crud, what did I say? I'm like, I did a broker tour there, I did an open house, I'm like, what did I say, what did I say? I don't think I said anything, but you get, oh my God, and for her not to tell me, that was, yeah.
Could you do like a sign like for open house or something, like when you welcome, like and walk in, let's say your business cards, could you be like, smile, you're on camera, or like there's like surveillance.
You
there?
could,
Or it's like, I know people like can easily get into like a nitty gritty conversation like that about their life. And then if we have a nosy Nelly like that.
Yeah.
It's on camera.
It's,
so-
where the biggest risk is, Tatum, yes, you could. The biggest risk is if it is actually your buyer or a legit buyer, and they're talking about how they feel about the house or what they would offer on the house, or what you say you don't like something in somebody's house and then make an offer. You might have just made them mad and insulted their house. You mean you don't like the color of my kitchen?
Yeah. And then you write an offer and they're already ticked at you.
Mhm.
They're already like,
Yeah, so you could do that,
Okay.
but the bigger risk is when someone's actually thinking about.
Right, like house conversation, so if I just like, if I go into it, I would want to know, so
Mhm.
there's been other situations where it's like a photo shoot or something like that, and I didn't know there was a camera. And they have some interesting footage of like changing and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they didn't tell us there was a camera.
Yeah, and sometimes you won't know, sometimes you won't know,
But
Mika.
what I suggest to my clients is we take a little notebook, and I'm still old fashioned, they can use their phone, put your comments on the notebook about the house and we can talk about it.
Yeah, I actually give all my buyers, I give all my buyers a clipboard
Yeah.
with the MLS client view sheets. So when you go to print, you are never, ever to give a buyer the agent's view. And the agent view has days on market, it has the agent remarks. It has the things that are private and only for us. And not for the public. So when you go to print, there are different views that you can choose. It always has to be the client view that you're handing out, but I would give a clipboard and I'd say, write notes on this. Because I will guarantee if you're seeing 4 or 5 houses, and I did the same, I would keep notes. Because I couldn't remember what house had the pink bathroom. I remembered the pink bathroom, but I'm like, what house, which one was that? Because they start to just all blend together. Now, maybe some of you have amazing memories. And you'll remember every detail. But you want them, I usually tell them, pick a like a name for the house, the blue house or the, whatever, something. And then after we see that house, then if we're in the car together, then I'm saying, are you considering, is this a house you would consider writing an offer on? And if they say, no, not at all, then I make them take that page off of their clipboard and we wad it up and throw it in my trash. Because I want it out of the mix, otherwise it starts to confuse them. We eliminate as we go. That's being a good buyer's agent for your clients, because you don't want them, especially for the ones that can't make a decision. So your car, how many of you have kids? Okay. So you've got to figure out a way that your car can get clean or be clean quickly. Again, remember I told you last minute? So when I was an agent, I started when my daughter was 4. And before having my child, I was the woman who said, I will not allow my kid to eat in the car.
I said that too.
Starts out that way, huh?
And then you got a really hungry kid in your back seat who throws food at.
Yeah.
Like, right?
For years.
Yeah, so.
The food I kept in the car.
Yes, so I have had a cover over the seat, her car seat, the cover, so that if I had a showing, I could pull the car seat, pull the cover, and then I had a little whisk broom and a little whisk tray, because I couldn't get to a vacuum. So that little whisk broom, we'd be in the parking lot, and I'd be cleaning it up, so that I was ready to go, and then I'd have something to wipe down. In case there were some grub, you never knew what was going on in that back seat sometimes.
I just mean like, or at least once a week, and it's.
Yeah, so again, this is me telling you, you've got to be ready to get ready in little to no time. So you got to think these things out, because you're not going to have the luxury to go, oh, before the showing, I'll go to the car wash. You may or may not be able to do that. So having a clean car, and even if you're not putting buyers in your car, they're gonna see your car.
They're gonna peek inside while they walk by.
And if it's junked out, that could have a perception for them.
Reflects on you.
So keep it clean. So if you're one that doesn't have a tidy car, you gotta, it does. Our car is our mobile office. Matter of fact, hope you guys like driving. Hope you like driving a lot. Showing houses, another thing you have to get really good at, or just being able to be mobile as an agent and driving around. Because as you notice, do you notice that there are not always a lot of agents in the office at one time, except on Tuesdays? Because this isn't a desk job. We're out in the field. We're putting signs in yards. We're having appointments. My husband had to get up early this morning and go to an inspection. He's like, I gotta go to Gardner for an inspection.
So what I just learned was what you just mentioned, that app that you told me about.
Mile on you,
So.
Tracking your mileage is important. But you're gonna have to even learn, what can I eat in my car and not have it. Okay, so I had to learn the hard way, because remember, when I started, I live out, Lee Summit, Raymore area. So I'm like 35 minutes from here. And my first office was in Leawood at 135th. It's about 25 minutes from my house. And I'd get up and go to work every day, right? And it wasn't easy for me to go back home and change my clothes. So I ordered a sandwich through drive-through. I had not much time between appointments, so you're gonna do a lot of car eating between appointments, you are, because you might have something up north and then you gotta head south and you only have this much time to get from here to there. And the sandwich, of course, fell apart onto me and I was like, oh crud. So I was like, what can I have? I learned a smoothie was great. Because it would fill me up. Straw, pretty safe unless I got crazy in the lid or the lid wasn't on, right? Because that'll happen too. Because I had milkshake Gradue in the back seat from my daughter. Yeah, the milkshake didn't. Yeah, Gradue. That's really hard to clean up. So these are just practical things you guys need to be thinking about so I had to figure out what will fill me up for the longest time that's easy that I won't be wearing. And then I had a toothbrush and I had dental floss in my car or gum because I couldn't always stop someplace and go brush my teeth before my next appointment. I didn't want lettuce. I don't know about you, but just the thought of having food in my teeth, it just drives me crazy. And if I ever do and you don't tell me, and you see it, you are not my friend anymore. Because I will do that for you.
I keep the travel mouthwash.
See,
All the time.
see, that's great. Yeah.
Kristen,
See, I know this sounds silly to talk about these things, but I want you to know these things now, because this is the nuts and bolts of some of the stuff we do, is being prepared. You're kind of like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. You and your car need to be prepared.
Kristen, do you have like a preferred person that you go to if you need to like deep clean your car? Because my nemesis is dog hair, where I have like 3 large dogs, and it's like, I don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
She just freaked me out, okay?
The voice, Whitney's. So I don't have anybody that I've used for detailing lately. We did have somebody, Brett knows a detailing company. Angel, do you know a Tidal Wave
Yeah.
car wash? Yeah.
They have special sections for detail.
Yeah. And you could do a cover on your back seat like I did for my kid, that you can just a canvas, waterproof, pull that off, that covers I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. And so you got to figure out, you can get those portable vacuums. Those are some of them, they're actually pretty decent. So again, you got to think about this, guys, because you're going to be mortified if you get a call at a last minute and you're a mess and your car's a mess. Angel.
The other thing is, and I'm invested in it, is
The what?
stuff on your car.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The WeatherTech, car mats and stuff and they have a lot of different products.
Yeah, they have a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, guys, if it's for your car and your car is, you are a real estate agent, if we can write a part of it.
Yeah.
Because it's for your quality.
For your, yeah. So, and also, let's talk about cars a little bit. Don't feel that an older car isn't okay. It's if it's clean. You know, that's what counts. That's what counts. Don't feel like you have to, matter of fact, I've seen agents who have big, fancy, expensive cars and it actually work against them. Unless you only work with luxury clients, the average person is gonna think, well, you make too much money. You're not like me.
Or what is
You're
my
too
problem?
fancy. Yeah. Yeah, you're too high end for me. So I'm not telling you what kind of car to buy, but I want to give you permission that your car's probably fine. Your car's probably fine. Just make sure it's clean and it runs. That's all you need. And then because I've had new agents. Okay, so when I first started here, here's what a new agent did before I got here, or when I was just getting hired. And he thought he needed a new car, a new computer, a new cell phone, Guess what? In 90 days, he was out of the business because he put himself in so much debt. Don't spend money till you make money, unless you have to.
I was talking to Chris Austin, and that's what he said was when he first started, he really was embarrassed by his car. And he was driving around like a big wig with the chiefs, like an attorney, all day. And he said, I almost went out and rented a car. And the guy was so kind and it didn't matter. He still got this really nice property. And he just was like, oh, that was such a relief because it was like I was driving this very old Camry. Yeah, we were gonna spend the whole day together in this little car.
Yeah, yeah. I've also had it where I've, thinking about putting buyers in your car is, I had this couple, I've used him as an example before, but, George and Sheila. They were out of town buyers. Sheila is the one I've been communicating with. And they were moving to Kansas City. She was lovely, but very soft-spoken, lovely. I thought, oh, this will be so fun. And she said, my partner, they weren't married, but they were an older couple. We're going to be moving to Kansas City. And so scheduled a meeting with them in my office. And in comes George, who was Sheila. Whew. We get in the conference room and the first thing George does, he's got this scowl on his face and he's like, and looking at me, I'm like, ew. So we went to go see houses. He's in the front seat with me, kind of like this. And I'm a decent driver. But he's like bracing himself and he's just so crusty. He's so curmudgeonly. He's like, rawr, rawr, rawr. And she's so lovely. I'm like, how's this gonna go? I'm like, I'm trying to warm up to him. I'm trying to figure out how do I talk to George? Because remember this, especially when it's couples, you might get along with one really well and the other might be a personality type that you're challenged with, or they're just hard to connect with. So by the end of the day, we're talking about going and seeing houses the next day. And I realize I gotta do something about George. I gotta win him over because we're not making very good progress. And I say to George, tomorrow, you wanna drive? He goes, hell yes. That made me so happy to be in control and driving from then on until we found the house. That would be my father. He became my best buddy. I sold him a house that was only like a couple of blocks from my office and he was retired. He would record music, he would cover on his little keyboard and he would bring me CDs. Now George couldn't sing. He did not have your voice. But it was so cute. He liked Jimmy Buffett, so he'd bring me his little CDs of him singing Jimmy Buffett songs. George, crusty George. He became a buddy. And he would just sometimes show up at the office. Cause Sheila would be out of town or something. He goes, what are you doing? I'd be like, okay. So I won George over by recognizing he needed to be in control of something. Again, this is all about the dynamics, about being a showing agent or showing properties. This.
This makes me crazy.
This. We get one of the biggest criticisms of real estate agents is being late. I know agents who have won a listing because they were the only agent on time. Now, here's where I will tell you, you think, oh, I'll be late. Well, if you don't drive an area, some of those subdivisions in southern Johnson County, it's cul-de-sac hell. I would get lost when driving, but in cul-de-sac hell, I'm like, get in here. I get in here.
Because you use the GPS to get in, but you don't get out.
Oh, my God.
On 69 is better than construction.
You got it, and if you don't drive certain parts of town and you don't know. So you gotta be really careful about making certain, and I will actually side with many agents on the lateness. And here's what I will tell you. Because most of us are solo practitioners. And remember what I said, you could be up north and have to get down south to your next appointment, and then you hit construction or traffic. And so many times as agents, we have so much on our plate that it's hard to juggle everything. So sometimes it's not people being lazy or inconsiderate, because I want you to know sometimes the demands on your time are such that you're gonna have some close calls. And you may be late to something. But you need to be thinking ahead. That if you haven't driven north of the river and you don't know what bridges might have construction, or what have you, then you've got to be aware of that. Because if you say you're gonna meet someone, especially if you're gonna be a showing agent for another agent, and their client says, well, yeah, we saw the house, but the agent was 10-15 minutes late. Do you think they'll ever ask you to show houses for them again? Probably not. Probably not. So you've got to really think this through and make sure that you're not on time. You've got to plan ahead. So if I were you as a new agent and another agent, if I get enough advance notice, I would actually drive that route. I learned the hard way that when I had listing appointments, well, one, I had to go preview properties in that neighborhood before I went on that listing appointment, but I drove by the listing to make sure I knew exactly where it was. And I wasn't trying to find it the first time, even with mapping apps.
Yeah, I usually try to drive it the day before.
Yeah, that's ideal. You don't always have that luxury, but if you can, I would all the time. As a buyer's agent, if I knew that I was showing 3 houses tonight to clients and I'm new and I don't have any other demands on my time, I would go see those houses and I would see them in advance. So there's no surprises. Brooke.
Are you parking your car in the driveway or on the side?
Oh, that's a great, we're gonna get to that. I love that question. Okay, so whatever apps you like, if it's your Apple Maps, if it's Google Maps, whatever. But you're gonna have to do, if you do more than one showing, you're gonna have to figure out the best route. Can I tell you that takes time? And there was nothing worse, well, I'll get to it. I don't wanna, I'm skipping ahead. I get kind of excited about this. Okay, so now, can you show a house without a buyer's agency? Say no, even if it's somebody else's buyer. No. So they have to add you to the buyer's agency. They use a change form. Their KCRAR has a change form. And if you really wanted to be proactive, you could actually send that change form to them. Instead of, if you really want to shine, is prepare that change form for them, adding you as a designated agent for that date. Okay, and then they can send it out to signatures, because they have to get signatures of their seller.
So sometimes I see those requests on Facebook, like, I need somebody to share this house, like, in 1 hour, can somebody do it? Is it rude to say, oh, and what would the payment be? Like,
Oh, we're gonna talk about the
Okay.
payment. Yeah, I want you all to know, I wanted you to know what you charge.
Okay.
I want you to know what you charge. Okay, because you can decide that. So it is a little bit harder because they can't just ask you to show a house and then go do that without adding you to the buyer's agency. So you can say, if it would be helpful, I'll send you the change form adding me on for today to the listing agreement. That would be lovely. And
So you have a copy of those in your.
yeah, because guess what? MLS has access to Broker Bay showing records. And so if you made the appointment, because sometimes the listing, so if you're gonna show the house, ideally, it should be in your name that you're doing that showing. Now, sometimes the lead agent, the buyer's agent will go ahead and make the appointment, but usually it's in your name. And if it's in your name and MLS says, hey, Ashley, we saw that you you showed the house on February 25th. Could you provide us with that buyer's agency? So you need it for your records too, and that's why if you do that courtesy for the buyer's agent of going ahead and do that change form for them, then you know you're gonna have a copy of it. Now, some will wanna do it themselves, and that's okay. Let's talk about scheduling. If you're working with your own buyer, there's a conversation you need to have and say, and it is really market specific as far as telling them how much notice we need to give sellers to go see a house. In a buyer's market, you may not have to go today to go see that house. You'll probably be there tomorrow, not a guarantee, but most likely. In a seller's market, especially in a hot price point, did you guys see what I posted on Facebook? The home trends, sales trends? Check it out, because it gives you by county, and I just posted Johnson County last month. In what price point did the majority of sales happen in that county? That'll tell you that'll tell you if there's any sizable buyer pool. Also, I recommend trying to choose open houses in the most popular price range. Where are the most buyers? That's a way to go look. So what we have to educate our buyers on is we may need to go see a house quickly. If it's it's like a cream puff, beautiful. Good price, good area. So one, you have to tell your buyers, what's your flexibility? Because some people can get away from work. Some people cannot. What are you going to do in those circumstances? If you had a buyer who cannot leave their job during the day, how would you help them still see houses?
Video.
And you have to have a buyer's agency to do that. You could FaceTime them or do a video walkthrough of that house. Because remember, the pictures, what did we talk about last night? Sometimes the pictures
Deceptive.
don't show you the down and dirty.
You can't
And-
smell through pictures.
You can't smell through pictures, and you cannot get the feel of the layout. You're getting an isolated view. And you don't know what the flow of the house is. Even if there is a floor plan sketch, which is nice to have, it still doesn't give you the ceiling heights and all of that, or the windows, you know, how much daylight's coming in, all of that. It's not the same. So you've got to let them know and figure out what is our plan if you don't have flexibility. And if you do have flexibility, then we need to give a seller usually a minimum of an hour notice. And then you better be checking the agent instructions on MLS for that house to make sure they don't say, we require a 24-hour notice for showings, especially if it's an investment property with a tenant. Or maybe nap time is from 3 to 4 or 2 to 4 in the afternoon and no showings are then. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to map out, let's say you have 4 houses to show and you're going to map them out. You're going to think, I've got the perfect route. Then you're going to start scheduling them. And house number 2 in the order that would be ideal, mapping wise, says, oh, they're not gonna have any showings until later on today, like in 2 hours. So you gotta take that house and put it down here. You're like, and it messes up your whole route. So you think you figure it out, and then I would make the calls, because we had call then, you guys can do it online. Remember, showings, there's different requirements for showing. Some are a show and go. Meaning you have to make an appointment for every property you see, even if they're vacant. Please, 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 don't think because it's vacant, I can just go. It's okay. You know that super E-key, you know that code that you put in. So an agent could go in on the super website and can see, Brooke, that you were there and you didn't make an appointment. You don't want to get in trouble like that. That's trespassing. Trespassing is against the law. Agents do it all the time. Oh, it's a vacant house. It's okay. It is not okay. You do not have permission. So you're gonna use the MLS. Broker Bay is, we've had different showing services over the years. Broker Bay is the showing service that most brokerages in Kansas City use, but not all. If it's a teeny tiny brokerage, they may say, call the listing agent. I'm gonna tell you, good luck with that. 'Cause those are usually the agents that never answer their call, and you'll be like, again, you've got it in perfect order on how you want to see these houses, and you can't make the appointment. It will drive you crazy. It will, then you're texting, still don't get back to you. So you gotta be flexible with this appointment window and how you're gonna do it. So here's, and you've gotta figure out, how long do you make a showing appointment? How long?
15 to 30 minutes. I mean, what?
How long do you schedule that showing for?
Oh.
How long do you guys do it?
Depends on what the agent has given you on permission to do. Some won't let you be in there for a while.
Yeah,
They want you to limit your time.
that's fairly new.
Yeah.
It used to be, we could get an hour. And now you can have more than one agent in a house. So don't think you get, and that's something you have to prepare your buyer for. We may not be the only one seeing this house, and we can either sit in the car and wait until they leave, or we can go see the house with them in there too.
Oh, okay, so I just learned that. I just did it for- but then it was a big-
Yeah.
But I didn't know you could schedule multiple.
You
Yep.
can see that on Broker Bay. It will tell you if they're allowing overlapping showings or not.
Yeah, so
Some
be
agents don't,
prepared.
some do.
Yeah,
It doesn't want to actually go inside and see the house. I've heard of that happening, like possibly you put together a folder of 5 houses that you thought they would want to see that fit their criteria, they look there, they're like, no, it's a people remodel, I don't want to look. How do you deal with that with scheduling?
okay, so then I am calling to cancel the showing right then and there. And I'm also texting the listing agent and saying, I'm so sorry, we got to the house and my buyer decided they didn't want to go inside.
I know
Thank you
that's
so
not
much for the
necessarily, like,
opportunity.
Every time, but I have heard of that.
No, it happens. I've had it happen.
Pretty often, like.
Well, you don't want to waste their time if they're like, we just don't like this house.
Yeah, and again, they saw the picture of it online, but then they see the neighborhood or maybe the house next door, there's. Yeah, it's gonna happen, Danielle. I'm so glad you brought that up. It's going to happen, but just make sure you're canceling the appointment because always assume you threw somebody out of their house for that showing. And, ooh, here's something else. Be prepared that that seller could be at the neighbors watching you. They could be in their car just down the street with the dogs in the back, watching you. Don't think they're long gone. They could be driving the baby around. So you have to be really
On your
careful.
App where you schedule the Broker Bay is also where you can go back into that same scheduling and cancel it and send a note to the agent. I do that.
So you're not-
And I would also text that.
But then
Or
it
call.
confirms on Broker Bay that you canceled.
Yeah, you
Because if
want
you
that.
don't ever show up, then Broker Bay is not seeing you come in. It's just helpful to have that record.
And remember, that listing agent might get a little cranky with you if you don't cancel it because of their seller going, well, did they see it? Why didn't they come see it? Did they show the house? Why didn't they cancel
Well,
it?
especially like a ring, you know, and they're sitting there waiting for you guys to get there.
Yes.
And then the listing agent's like finding out from their seller that you guys didn't come. That thing.
Exactly.
It's a courtesy to the listing agent.
Because the listing agent is gonna have to go back and tell their seller, and that doesn't always go well, right? So you want to be as professional and thank them for the opportunity and apologize that we didn't go see their house. Wish them the best. Keep those relationships with other agents. Remember, they're as important as your clients. Actually, in some cases, they're more important because you're gonna be around them. If you do this for a long time, more than your clients. And make sure again that you're reading the showing instructions on the MLS. That's in the agent remarks or view. So if they have special instructions, follow them.
So Megan and I got a compliment yesterday from recent neighbors. They think that, they said, thank you for being good to work with. So apparently that's some not so nice people with this.
Not all agents are professional, not all agents are nice. Most are, but the level of professionalism. Okay, so when I got in the business, came from the corporate world, and there is at least a facade of professionalism in the corporate world. And I say facade because sometimes that's all it is. I get into real estate, I start dealing with agents of all kinds, and I'm like, I was shocked and appalled at the lack of professionalism. And I was like, what have I done? Are these people and they're just crazy, or they're mean, or they don't even know what they're doing? My husband is working with an agent right now, a new agent from a different company. And he wrote an offer that the majority of it was wrong. And I said, oh my God, because I'm listening to him as he's talking to this agent. And I was like, oh my God, he doesn't know this. He doesn't know that. He didn't understand. He marked it was an investment property. It's an FHA loan. I mean, his offer was horrible. His numbers were all wrong on the financing page. Mike's like, I think how much are they putting down? And are you asking for closing costs or not? Because it was just all willy-nilly. And then the reason Mike's at inspections right now is because the agent isn't going, and neither are his clients. He was gonna just let a lot of inspectors have lockbox access. But really, our duty is to be there. It's a fiduciary duty for us to be there. So Mike's there on behalf of the seller. He told the buyer's agent, and the buyer's like, nah, we don't need to go. I had something coming. Shocking, appalling. I'm just like, oh my God.
But I'm sure even with his numbers and everything being all jacked up, I'm sure, I don't know Mike that well, but we talked, I'm sure he wasn't going crazy on that guy.
No, actually, the agent said to him, thank you so much. You're so nice to work with. Well, yeah, because probably a lot of them yell at him because he doesn't know what he's doing, but no, Mike's not gonna do that. He's gonna say, you need to go back and do this, you need to go, and so.
And then you need to go through my wife's launch program.
He said he needs education. I said, after looking at the offer, I would have, Mike's, I would say, you need to go to your broker. Because.
They don't have lender and all that kind of stuff.
No, we're very fortunate here.
If you heard Haley Wiley when she was at the business meeting, did you hear what she said about her husband? She was at a very nice brokerage. Megan was there, very nice brokerage. And she said, I sent him here because nobody has training like you all do. So, also be ready with the listing agent's contact information. Because, okay, at least 24 hours, that's in a buyer's market. Okay, so again, market specific, map out to minimize your driving time. We talked about that. And then you might ask, if you're a showing agent for someone else, you might say to the listing agents, are your buyers quick lookers or are they slow? Because there's some that I could, so ideally when I scheduled showings, I do an hour showing for each house. And then I would, depending on where it was, the next one, I usually did a 15-minute gap before I started the next one. Drive time. But if you're out in the rural area, it might be longer. I don't know. Or if you're going from Kansas to Missouri, I don't know. But that's normally what my goal was. An hour showing. We were rarely there an hour. But then once I started to work with a buyer, I know can they walk in the door pretty much and figure out, oh, this isn't for us? Or are they even saying to me, I don't think this is their house, but they're still looking in every cabinet and every closet, I'm like, "No, let's go." No, they're taking their time, and I'm like, oh, you're killing me. So that goes to a point that don't go into a house early unless it's vacant. Then you're allotted time. And if you are late, if you are not gonna get there by your time that your appointment's over, then you better be telling Broker Bay and you better call that listing agent and let them know. Because remember, the seller, always assume you kick the seller out for an hour or for 20 minutes or whatever your appointment was for, and they're gonna come back home in an hour. And then you're just coming in and say, oh, sorry, we're late, we got behind. Because you can get behind, especially if you've never worked with or shown houses with that buyer before. Again, you don't know what speed they go through a house. Some are snails. I'm not a snail, and that just, it's hard for me. Slow walkers, hard for me. I'm fast
I
walker.
went and like shadowed somebody showing. And you could tell they weren't interested in the house, and yet they were taking forever, and I think they just like something, oh.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't the one, so let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. So always, if you're gonna be late, you better find out if you can be late. Because it may be, no, you can't be late. It's nap time, baby's coming back in. No showings after that. So things to discuss with that lead agent, that buyer's agent, if you're doing a showing for them. Ask them, are there any things that the buyers are specifically looking for that, that are in this house? Arrive at the property early. If you're going to meet the buyer there, then arrive early. So you can turn on the lights. So you can unlock the front door and back door. And then disable the alarm. All of you will have this experience. I hate home alarms. I hate them. One, it'll say it's in the kitchen. And then you come running in the kitchen, because you usually have like 60 seconds to disarm this puppy. And every alarm pad is different. And you're looking like, where's it? And then you go up to it and you're like, do it, and the showing service, Broker Bay will give you the code. It's not on MLS. You will be given the code when you make the appointment. And then heaven forbid, all of you will set off an alarm. Oh, I did it in a rural property. We went in, we saw, it had 2 houses on the property. Went into the first one just fine. The second one, I swear I did the code just like they said. It goes off. I can't get it off. I'm calling the showing service. I'm calling the agent. He's not answering. He never returned my call. And we couldn't go in the house because it was so freaking loud. I mean, oh my God, it was so loud you couldn't overcome. And here's the other thing that I didn't think of at the time. If you set off an alarm, vacate that house. Why? Do not be in that house. Why?
Always my comments.
You don't want them thinking you broke in.
Right.
You don't want to have to explain that. You're gonna stand outside.
With your name tag on.
Yeah. Okay. Douglas,
It happened to me.
you will all set off an alarm.
The owner came back and they went pending and it wasn't in the MLS yet.
So they set the alarm because they didn't think they were gonna have any more showings.
Like, and then, the police came, I had vacated the house just on my own, not having this education that you're giving me now. So I just vacated the house and just sit there, you know, on the porch, cause the house was still furnished and everything.
Yeah.
It was her mom's house and it was like a lot of antique type of trinkets and stuff. I don't blame her.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but vacate that house.
Yeah.
Do not stay in that house.
So, yeah, I'll call the listing agent and she gave me the code to set the alarm off. Well, the owner came home, so she turned the alarm off. Everything was explained to her and so everything went well, but she wasn't happy.
No, no. Also be careful, this happened to an agent of ours. It might happen to you sometime. Going to go show a house. Didn't realize there were 2 houses for sale on that street. Unlocks the door to the house that he thought was the right house in a hurry. Sets off the alarm. Realizes he's at the wrong house. Panics and leaves. Oh no. Did. The house he was supposed to show was across the street. Right. So he had to call and apologize, and that's a hard one to make up from. I panicked, I fled. It's really good. So, and I get it, sometimes you're just like, it can freak you out. Make sure you're turning on all the lights to show the property, unlocking the doors. Okay. While in the house, share the MLS client sheet with the buyer. Or if it's your own buyer, maybe you've done a clipboard like I do or whatever, so that they can keep notes and have that in front of them. Allow, especially if you're a showing agent, allow the buyers to go look at the house on their own. Okay, tell them you're available for any questions. Don't give your opinion about the property. I learned the hard way. Opinion, not professional. And as a showing agent for another agent, this is where the lines can get blurred between a showing agent and a buyer's agent. You are there because their agent was smart enough to have somebody lined up so that they wouldn't miss seeing a hot house, regardless of what their agent had on their plate. So you are only there to show the house and give them the facts on the MLS. But they say, yeah, would you make an offer on this house? So Jody, how much would you offer on this house? Great question for your agent. Don't start giving opinions on the house. Also, the way I learned the hard way is, I remember going in a house that had what I thought in the kitchen, the ugliest wallpaper I'd ever seen. So I go in and I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. And I'm just going off. Before I heard my buyer's reaction, the buyer said, well, one of them said, I like it. And I was like, ooh, lesson. What I don't like cosmetic stuff, I should just zip my lip. Now, if my buyer had said, is that the worst wallpaper? I go, yeah, I wouldn't now because the camera's in the house. Yeah, I'd be like,
I want to ask you this, so the lady I'm working with, she, for the first week or so, she brought her girlfriend with her all the time. And the girlfriend had nothing nice to say about every house. So she gave her opinion and now it turned this deal off with all those houses and so.
well, parents will do that, family members and friends will do that, and that's a hard one.
Please don't invite this lady anymore. As soon as she didn't.
Then she was able to find a house.
That lady, the other lady was so negative about everything.
Parents are like that too.
Okay.
Dad comes into dad mode. I'm gonna save my baby from buying a bad house. Well, dad hasn't bought a house in 30 years. Yeah. So you gotta be careful and remember, as a showing agent, don't be talking about, well, I would ask for these repairs. I would negotiate this. You should be do this as is addendum. You are showing the house. You do not put on the buyer's agent hat unless that is your buyer. Make sense? Because here's what'll happen. Let me tell you what can happen. How are we on time? Okay. And I've had this happen numerous times. New agent comes to me and say, oh, so-and-so had me show their buyers. And we got along so well. They actually told me they like me better than their agent, and they want to use me. Absolutely not.
Nice compliment, but can't go any further.
Mhm.
Absolutely not, and say, you know what, you're working, the response should have been, you know what, you're actually working with an amazing agent, because they made sure that they had someone like me available to be able to get you in this house. They are such a great professional. Try not to let them tell you stories that, oh, but my agent was late, or they've made 3 offers and I've never won. Well, they could be the problem. Because they would write a strong offer, not the agent.
Right.
So you've got to be so careful. You want to be personable. But don't try to buddy up to these people and have them like you more. Because I will promise you that that will not go well, and that is against license law. That's against our ethics, code of ethics. That's poaching. Even if you didn't intend. So I tell you this so you'll be prepared, because sometimes it happens. Sometimes we do click with people. Right? But you can never, it's like cheating, okay? Okay, they're married. No cheating. Even if they want to cheat, you're not going to cheat. Right?
Then I have another suggestion back to when the buyer does come and starts asking you about inspection questions or what, how would you handle this? What would you offer? I would say, what are your thoughts on that? I make notes, I will share that with the listing, with your buyer agent, so we can discuss that with them. And I do take notes for that buyer agent, because I'm not gonna remember the 4 houses we saw either.
Yeah,
I
and what
said,
they thought.
It's just this house, this was their question. That way that buyer agent reach out to the listing agent and they can
Follow
do that
up.
negotiating for the buyer. That's not our job as the showing agent, but I
I
take
love
notes to share with them.
I love that. And that, the agent's gonna love you for that, because that's so important. Turn off all the lights that weren't on. So I always tell my seller, turn on as many lights as possible when we're in showings, because I want music on, I want the lights on, I don't want a buyer or buyer's agent searching for light switches and not being able to just walk in a room and experience it. But not all sellers will want to do that. Oh, my light bill. You're trying to sell your house. Make it look warm and cozy, right? Also lock the doors. I always ask my buyers to please step out of the house while I do a once around and check the doors. And I do all the lights, because if they stay in the house talking to you, you might miss something. And it happened to me. I got screamed at by a listing agent because I turned off the wrong light. And the back door was not secure. So what I didn't know is when we first went out onto the back deck, the husband and wife and I came in and locked the door. The wife and I went to another part of the house. The husband went back out on the deck, unbeknownst to me, and did not lock the door. So I always have them step out of the house, and then I go in and do just like check the things. Do not, unless it was locked, and it's highly unlikely, do not lock that garage door into the house. That will be another angry call. How many of you get through your house, through the garage, and you do not lock that door? Most of us. And sellers don't want to be called back or have to call their agent and say, I can't get in my house. Do you know how many people don't have a ready, accessible front door key?
They're good to be brother.
90%.
Well, yeah. And now you're selling your home to your listing agent has all your keys. Right. One copy of that.
So when, the other thing I didn't touch on, when you're going into that house, do not leave the key in the door. Take the key with you. I usually then will put it, I made it a habit of putting it on the kitchen counter or someplace that I always put it consistently. And then lock the door behind you. Because here's what I've had happen and others will have happen. Somebody sees you going into a house and it's for sale, they think they can walk in and see the house too. You're at a legal liability if you let strangers into that house. But they think it's okay because there's already an agent showing this house. And you also don't want someone undesirable or thinking other thoughts, criminal thoughts, walking in because you didn't secure the door.
Okay, I wanna ask you, like, that time I got there and somebody else was drunk, because I didn't know that, you didn't show the house today. So he just said, okay, here's the key, and then he gave it to me.
You say, okay, so you shouldn't do that, especially if you're the one who opened up that door and there's another agent. Say, I'm gonna put it back in and you'll have to get the key and unlock, because you want to show that if that agent didn't do something right, it's only gonna show that you were in that house. So that was dumb of that agent. I know it's easier to just hand the key, but that's a great question. You should make sure that it's being recorded that you left because you locked the lockbox and they were there.
Because Broker Bay then asked me, did you show the house? And because they didn't know that I was there.
Exactly.
So that is all.
Say, no, I wanted to record. Thank you, but no, go ahead and lock it up. Lock even if they don't lock the front door, they can put the key back in the lockbox.
Then you activated and shows that he left, then you came.
Yep, Douglas.
And if it's a combo, make sure you scramble that combo code, because somebody could be watching you, and come right up behind you and open that box because you didn't scramble the code.
Yep. So again, you're gonna, so know this, that key. As a listing agent, you always want several keys to the front door because some agent's my husband's done this several times. I tell on him a lot. He knows. He puts the key in his pocket
I do too.
and then he comes home and he says,
Yes.
I don't know what house this goes to.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, what? So he doesn't know what
I did
door this
that
goes to.
on my open house 2 weeks ago. The seller showed up in the open house, which is fine. I'm there for Kate Forrest, and so we're chit chatting and he's going around and doing things and locking the garage. And thank you so much, you were so nice to your home. Thank you, it's nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. I leave and get in the car and drive away. I had the key in my pocket still, so I didn't have to lock up. Seller had locked it. So I was completely out of my routine.
Yep.
And so I had to call Kate. Your car, no, yeah, it's like over the morning, but yes, it can happen.
So I have it in.
Or it'll drop through the porch
Oh.
dashboards.
Yes.
Yeah, it's happened all of it. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, you can drop that key and then it be gone and not accessible.
I have 11:15.
Okay, go. Thank you. Go. We'll finish this up. Let's talk safety. While in the house, let's just talk safety about things you should and shouldn't do. Like going up in the attic. Be so careful. Do not go up in the attic, and go up there, especially if there's no flooring. Somebody will fall through the roof and don't think they won't. I've seen too many listings that there's a hole in the ceiling because even inspectors fall through it sometimes. Again, I told you if the house alarm goes off, vacate the house. Police aren't gonna know. All of you, do all of you have a safety app on your phone? Do you? Do you?
I think I have the new one.
All of you need one on your phone. Male, female, I don't care. Old, young, everybody needs a safety app. There are different ones out there. Here are just a couple of them. Figure out what that is, because if for any reason you do go show a house by yourself, you want to be able to, there's some that you can actually just have your thumb on. Angel told me he had a showing yesterday or the day before.
Yes, sir.
Tell him about that showing.
Well, I showed up to the property and, it was weird because I pulled up in front of the house, but it's one of those houses that's on a main street. So I didn't know if it had a shared driveway, so I didn't want to block the driveway, but I parked right on the street. So the client wasn't there, but he showed up walking. Came in. As soon as I get out of the car, I just get this eerie feeling. And so. I introduced myself because him and I have been talking on the phone for about a week. And, so anyway, he shows up and I just get this really comfortable feeling. And so immediately, which is my go-to, I do have a safety app on my phone, but I also have this 20-pound flashlight. Made of titanium metal, so I immediately grab this, So I opened the door, but I still have this eerie feeling, so always trust your gut. What I did is I immediately looked at my surroundings and I left the front door open. And I asked the gentleman to go ahead and, the house was a vacant home, I did have an appointment. So I left the front door open, I had him walk around, I refused to go into the basement with him. So don't ever go into the basement with
If you're
me.
not uncomfortable, do not.
No. Because you just never know. So I never, with this feeling that I had, it was just really strong feeling.
Trust your gut, trust your intuition.
I had this at hand, I left the front door open, and then he asked me a question, and I said, good question. Let me reach out to the listing agents. So I went out to the front porch, and I let him continue his tour. And then I talked to him outside. Yeah. And it was just, and I haven't had that feeling in a very long time, but, not for anything, and this is not to put down my areas, but I do show a lot of houses in Pompero, a lot of investors, and these are, you just gotta keep.
You gotta be smart no matter where you are. Some areas more smart than others, right?
Yeah.
It can happen anywhere. It happened to me in Old Overland Park at an
Yeah.
open house. Someone came in and I'm right at the front door and literally, guys, the hair on the back of my neck just stands up.
Yes.
Single guy comes in and I'm like, just the same thing, just, I say, go ahead, go in the house, please enjoy, go, and I had groups just leaving, but he comes in and I say, I've got to make a phone call, I'll be out in the front yard. He wasn't there maybe 2 minutes and left. It creeped me out so much. I called the listing agent because I was holding it up and I said, I do not feel safe. I'm going to close down the open house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
All day long.
Agent will come after you.
Well, if they do, then you have them call me. Seriously, seriously. If you do not feel safe, Keanu had an experience with an open house. He went, the door had been kicked open or pried open. He said, do I go in? And I'm like, no. But you don't know, you're like, if that door is open, unlocked, or it's been kicked in or pried open, do not go into that house. There are certain parts of town that homeless people will go in and live in the house.
Wasn't there a squatter? There was some.
Squatters in there. So please, 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 do not endanger your safety, ever. What,
Which I have to say that I've used New Light before.
yeah, I've used Moonlight. You check them out and see which one you want, and it's gonna do what you want. There's the circle of 6. Yeah, you gotta go. No worries. So you kind of have, oh, Douglas.
I was in the house once and the lights wouldn't come on, none of the lights, right?
Okay.
And I think it was a client that I was showing for Adrian.
Uh-huh.
And I went down in there, the house was kind of nice and everything, so when I went in, I was suspecting lights. And I wanted to do a good job.
Right.
So I went down the basement anyway. Well, my eyes kind of focusing because nobody was there, not the person I was showing it to.
Right.
And I locked the door behind me there. I went down in there and I could see there was a car down there. Choo, 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 gone.
Yeah, you go.
Gone.
Yeah.
I'm
Look,
not-
assess this at, so when you go into a house, you're gonna first ring the doorbell and, or knock on the door. When you step into the house, you're going to announce yourself loudly, because here's what you don't know. When you go to show a house, and there are multiple occupants in that house, say a family, and you have teenagers or what have you, never assume everybody in the house knows or remembers that there's a showing at that time.
See, this house was a vacant house, but it had a car in there and I don't know what's.
You don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
So be very careful. The scariest time for me was I went to show a house to a couple. We go in the house, we go in the kitchen, and there's a bedroom right off the kitchen, the door's closed. I look on the dining room table, the kitchen table here, and there's a police badge. There's police paraphernalia right there, no gun. And I hear a fan going on behind that door. My brain goes, we have a day sleeper.
Yeah.
It's a police officer and he doesn't know we're here or she. I actually start shaking and I say to my buyers, we have to leave immediately. And they're like, what? And like, we have to leave immediately. Leave immediately. If my husband's walked in where there was a teenage girl asleep in her basement room, he left immediately. You don't want. Right? So just know you're gonna go in and make yourself known. Don't assume. I've had people come like out of the shower in the towel. Upstairs, like, who's here? I'm like, oh, yeah.
So you gotta announce yourself, you know, I knock on the door, we're here for a showing, woman, there's staircase right in front of us going up, she popped her head up, what are you doing here? "I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, nobody told me, I mean, poor thing, she's dripping wet in her towel, she was terrified, we were terrified.
Yeah. So you've got to, that's why you wanna get there early. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're with your client, especially if they're riding in your vehicle with you. But does this kind of help you understand? Now, let's just talk quickly about compensation. Let me get there. Compensation. So suggested, you negotiate this. But if it's ad hoc, a lot of agents charge $25 an hour, minimum of 50. That is, includes your showing time, your drive time, not your scheduling, usually. If they're gonna have you truly be a showing agent and you're gonna take that buyer and show them houses until they find the one and then the buyer's agent comes back to into the picture to negotiate an offer and write an offer, then it could be 25% of the commission at closing. Or you could do a hybrid where they pay you an hourly and you make commission. If you're going to be that, truly do the showing agent role and not the ad hoc. Now, these are just recommended. But I would, if I were you, say, decide how much you charge, and then if the agent wants to negotiate with you, fine. But I think it's better I had one sweet new agent. Talking to an agent, he goes, yeah, I'm gonna be your showing agent, and she's gonna pay me $15 a house, and I was like. No. He's like, oh, that's not a good rate, and I'm like. I don't, that is a fair rate for you to do that. So this is nothing in we're not saying that's what you have to charge. But this is what I've seen the most of. Make sense? Yeah, in an email. Unless they're gonna have you as a showing agent, then I'd wanna sign a little something about that and have that in writing. So if they're just doing ad hoc, then they're gonna pay you. So my husband Mike shows houses for a lot of agents, and the one agent is lovely. However, they don't ever pay him on time. He has to remind them, and I'm like, then don't do any more showings. You're really good at helping, and I know you want to be helpful, but they have to pay you. So you need to have Venmo or something like that that makes it very easy. And then you request the payment. That's what I told him, because this agent is crazy busy. So it's not them trying to get out of paying. They're just crazy busy. That's why he has to show properties for them. But you make the payment request after a showing. Don't be shy about that. They hired you. You need to get paid. And you might have to remind them. Okay? If it's the other where they're paying you commission, then that has to go through the office. If they pay you, one agent pays you $600 or more in a year, then they're gonna have to issue a 1099 to you for your taxes. So you need to keep track if you become that one person's showing agent. Has this class been helpful? You feel a little bit better about? And also, start building the relationships with agents here, or even advertise. I've had some new agents advertising on the closed Facebook page. If you need a showing agent, I'm your person, especially like over holidays. It's a great thing to say, hey, you want time with your family? I got you. Yeah, spring break. A lot of families are going to be out of town. Say, I'm your spring break showing agent. Love to help. So raise your hand and show that I want to do this. And then be professional. Doug.
Oh, I won't do this. I'll raise my hand.
Good for you. Those of you on Zoom, any questions?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Whitney, any questions?
No, I'm good. This was insightful.
Good, good. Any questions here? Okay, I'm gonna send you all, I'm gonna post on Facebook a quiz for this class, and I want you all taking it and sending me your result. This is 5 questions. It's pretty easy. But this, we got in a little more than, there's a lot here, because we had to cover both you being in showing properties and then being a showing agent. So I got a little quiz for you. I will post it on Facebook and you send me your answers. Okay? Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.